now. It's recording.
Excellent. So thanks for attending today's Oracle Virtual Developer Meetup. I'm Jürgen Kress from Oracle. This is the second webcast in a series of virtual meetups. Please join for upcoming events. Oracle Developer Meetups are available across EMEA. To join a group, please visit developercommunity.blog/meetup. Thanks, and over to you, speakers. Phil.
Hi, so welcome everybody. We're very fortunate to have Christian McCabe and Filip Huysmans from Steltix and DB Contribute with us today to share a story about the use of using Oracle technology in a hackathon to help an educational setup in South Africa. I'll hand over to Filip in a moment, and then we'll deal with questions at the end. Thanks very much. Over to you, Phil. To you, Christian. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, welcome everyone, and thanks, Phil. I'm also here with Fritz Holscher, who's the managing director of Steltix South Africa. Good evening, everyone. And yeah, we also have another panelist, Filip Huysmans in Belgium, who will also be sharing a bit of this story. But yeah, as Phil said, we had an experience earlier this year where we entered into a partnership with the school. We had a hackathon where we presented some Oracle technology. We got to play with some new Oracle tech and just experience some of the needs at the school and experience developing software for the schools. And so what we're going to do is in this session is just talk through. We have some slides to talk through what our experience was, and then also Philip's team in Belgium worked on some of the setup and also is still working on some of the software we started at the hackathon. And so he'll get a chance to talk into that. And this is an ongoing project, really. We started and it's still going on. We're still in the middle of building. But to sort of give you a bit of context, I want to just let Fritz begin and just give you a bit of context of who Steltix is and how we got into this hackathon, and then we'll jump into the event.
Thank you, Christian. And also thanks to Phil and Jürgen for the opportunity for us to present, and also for Filip joining us from Belgium. Steltix International was started about 20 years ago in the Netherlands as a IT solutions company, and grew to about 8 offices in Europe, Germany, France, UK, and Spain and Portugal and Switzerland, and then expanded to open up an office in South Africa, here in the beautiful town of Cape Town, city of Cape Town. And our focus has been to build a solutions team here in South Africa that comes up with ideas around IT and how to enable large enterprise companies with the latest technology. And being an Oracle Platinum partner, using Oracle technology is one of our key software platforms that we use to build these products. And as you can see there, the beautiful town of Huysmans is actually where our product development team is sitting, where Christian and his team is located. So very fortunate to have them on the call today. Yeah, about 3 years ago, we met up with Geert-Jan Velinga and John Brock of the Oracle JET team. And we decided to do a hackathon with them in Cape Town with a local academy here, a coding academy called Codex. And they've got a program that they run for students from previously disadvantaged communities. And basically, we came together using Oracle JET as a platform to build some software applications. And then from there, you can see there, we took a couple of these students, and they became actually interns at Steltix, which then helped us to continue our plans and dreams around building products, and also to empower communities of previously disadvantaged people in Cape Town in South Africa. And then this year, actually, we did another hackathon, and this time we also once again collaborated with Codex, and this time we went abroad to Europe and actually involved a company called DB Contribute from Belgium to co-hack with us at a school called Crystal House here in Cape Town, and also a school that gives education to 750 children from previously disadvantaged backgrounds. And yeah, I think this is maybe a good place. I can maybe just share about the vision. Crystal House has been started by a lady called Crystal Dahan, and she had a vision to actually expand education into countries where there's need, and a very, very amazing school that we've had the privilege to be involved with and over the last 3 years. And yeah, we felt it was a great opportunity to build these applications with them and contribute with developers, and also with contribute there in Belgium. And Christian, maybe it's a good time for you to step in.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Fritz illustrated, Steltix, as this solutions team, we were already starting to use Oracle technology. I mean, we're an Oracle Platinum partner, mostly in JD Edwards, but even in our JD Edwards services, we started seeing needs for building products and front ends. And that's where we really embraced Oracle Jet, and the tools that were available in Oracle Jet, we started using to build. You saw on one of the previous slides, one of our products at Steltix Drop Zone was built the whole front end in Oracle Jet. So getting support from the community online and meeting John and Hertion, we saw it as an opportunity to say, okay, we're using this platform, we're using Oracle Jet, and we have an opportunity to teach children, whether it's at the Codex Academy or here at Crystal House, beginning of coding. Why not try to start using Oracle Jet as the thing that they begin with, so that they almost start at the ending place. They can start in a place of professionals. So that was our vision of going into this, was how can we expose the school? They had some simple software needs around attendance, around a books library. That was the real one that kept coming up. They had no real way of organizing their books. And so we said, let's put together this event to kick off a solution. We'll partner with them. And in this slide, you can see that's Filip from the Belgian team. This is what the event actually looked like. This is the lab that we were in. And this was a combination of students from the school, some as young as 12 and 13, and some of the older kids, matric age, about to graduate. And then we had a bunch of coders from Steltix as well, some of our own guys who were familiar with Oracle Jet, who've used it in work. And then we also had a team from Codex, the same academy that we did a previous hackathon with. Some of those interns even came back who knew Jet. So we sort of said, okay, let's put all these people into the room. But Filip had the great idea that we had to have some sort of flashy technology to also put in the mix to play with. And so we started early on in the planning stages, Hertion, Filip, and Phil, and another person on Philip's team named James, myself and others here, had these regular meetings where we planned what are we going to do and what tech are we going to use. So we decided on teaching the younger kids just some basic coding. And so during the hackathon, they were actually typing HTML and JavaScript in Jet and learning some of the basics. These kids had so much fun. And then with an older group, we made an Oracle component, an Oracle Jet composite component that was a facial recognition component, basically. And these guys that you see here and their teacher, these are the robotics team at the school. And basically what we did is we used the TensorFlow JS library, which is a JavaScript machine learning library that allows you to do really cool machine learning things in the browser. And so since Oracle Jet's a browser-based framework and system, we just wrapped up that TensorFlow library. We made this nice little component that they could begin to do facial recognition login for this application. So we had lots of fun. Here's one of the students training the facial recognition algorithm in real time. And so we had a room full of testers going on. And this is the gentleman who leads Codex, the academy, and one of his pupils. An interesting side story. We actually, the guy on the right there, Warwick, we actually hired him as a staff member out of this event. So the hackathon, if you guys are planning to do a hackathon, it's a great way also to go out as developers and see other developers that you might not know in the community. So this is our second hackathon, and out of both of those hackathons, we've been able to pull in other developers into our mix, some as interns, some who, like Warwick, who already had skills. So that's one of the insights, the topic of the conversation being the insights we got from this. That's one of the key ones we took away, was reaching out with these events allowed us to meet and interact with other developers that we wouldn't have normally necessarily met with, being an ERP company. So yeah, we did some other fun things. This was a little machine learning game that we played with, again, that was just something to play with during the day. We also, when we started building the books library, and Filip will tell you more of the technical of the books library, but basically we split the work up into different areas, and we preceded the conversation. So when the coders arrived and the students arrived that day, we already had activities planned out for them. So nobody was sort of like thinking of what they had to do. We prepared them ahead of time. I even went to the school and Codex, and we did a bit of a preparation on Oracle Jet. Hertion provided a nice training session. So if anybody's thinking about doing a hacking session like this yourself, there's great resources where you can bring the people up to speed before the event. And then you can use things like this in the event. We had fun just going around and scanning with a little front end scanning app that we built prior to this, so that the kids could see some usage of the software at the same time. And then another insight we took away from it too, was that the kids design better software than the adults. That everything that we thought in our planning about what we were going to design and build, when we actually got there, they had so many better ideas, so many more inspiring things that they came up with, because they understood the problem better than us, because they're the ones using the books in the library, and we're just software guys trying to solve a problem. So that was a key insight. Also, too, on the technical side, we tried to pull off quite a technical challenge here. This is Fritz pointing the camera, because we basically had a real-time collaboration going on, where we were playing on our side with Oracle Jet. We were building the books library, and a couple teams going. But then also on the other side in Belgium, you had Filip and his team that were in real time. We tried to take a typical development sprint and compress it down into like 45-minute sprints. So we had a 45-minute and a little bit of a break, and then a video session. And that tended to work well. And it certainly brought, Filip can speak to how his team experienced it, but on our side, it brought a much bigger feel. We weren't just in this school in Cape Town, which felt cool in itself, this lab, but we were also in a global place that we were connected. And so as we were building, there was a back end that Filip's team was interacting with, and we hosted that back end on a Oracle Cloud. So the entire back end was set up beforehand, and we had some basic APIs set up that Filip's team could interact with. So the data that we were scanning in was immediately being used in Belgium on their side. And they were, I have to admit, they were taking on some of the coolest technology in the whole hackathon. They were working with the Oracle Digital Assistant and some other things. So at this point, I want to switch over to Filip's slides and let Filip share a little bit about his experience too, and some of his insights around the event from the other side of the table. Filip, are you there? Can you hear?
Hey, Christian, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the introduction. So my name is Filip Huysmans. I'm from the Oracle partner Contribute. We are based in Belgium, and we are focusing ourselves on building applications, building solutions for our customers based on Oracle middleware technologies, going from database development through Java, ADF, JavaScript development, and of course, chatbots for a couple of years now. So we had already some internships the past couple of years with a digital assistant from Oracle. So we know what it's all about, we know what it can do, and we know what it can bring as a wow factor to any project. That's why my add-on to the project is say, okay, let's put in something fancy so that you get something moving over there. So hence the digital assistant of Oracle being there. To be honest, before we started all this, I had my consultant comparing different digital assistant solutions on the market, going from very cheap ones to very expensive ones, compare that to the Oracle one. And besides the prize, I think Oracle is the most complete and the most easy one to do. So we decided for this hackathon, which was only a day and a half for us, to use the Oracle digital assistant due to its capabilities out of the box and due to the ease of building something. I think the most important thing of a hackathon is that if you do this with children, if you do this with people who want to learn something, that you get a result at the end of the day. And if you want to build everything from scratch, and if you have to write everything from scratch, you can't do that. You need something pre-prepped so you're able to deliver a real solution, a real wow moment at the end of the days. So here is a bit on our preparation phase. Like anything else, preparation is the key to full success. Also in this part, big thanks to Huysmans who brought us all together from my side perspective. So thank you very much, Huysmans, if you still hears us in the afterlife after Oracle. And I saw him at Open World, I think, last year. And there we talked about the possibilities, the challenges they had, and the extra info, the extra facets that it could give us into our own internships. Very importantly, because I know that in every country, internships are different. Within Belgium, it used to be very simple. You went from the end of January to the start of June, where you got this 1, 2, 3 person students ready to take on any challenge you give them. Nowadays, it's more complex. Actually, they can start any month of the year. So we have a lot more possibilities. We have a lot more types of internships. And I think the internships we had at that point were fantastic for this kind of solution. So the students that came to us were very interested in the fact that it was a global kind of hackathon. It's not only building something from a local perspective, but also being in contact with different cultures, different way of working, other type of mentalities, and bringing that all together in this couple of days. So for them, these students saw this internship as a start of the real project. And it was a bit like that because before the hackathon, they only looked at the technologies. So they built some small demos with Oracle Jet. They built some small demos with the developer, with the digital assistant, allowing them to learn the technology, allowing them to know what to do in what ways, etc. Because with a hackathon, you only have a small amount of time to deliver something real. So that's why it's very important that the people looking at taking part of the hackathon are well prepared, like Christian told before, and know the technology and know what to do. Secondly, we also add some people from our own team, because we know once you start into it, once you tackle real problems, you will always get some real challenges, and people more senior are easier to cope with them and guide the students into the right direction. So to get this all ready, to get this all controlled, to get this all in place, we had a monthly call, which was very necessary to get our heads in the same direction, because we are with 3 partners, I thought. So we had the Steltix people, we had Contribute, and we had the people from Phil in London. So we had all our own ideas, and it was of great pressure to have them all synced together and to have the same path forward. Very important for me is because the big distance, a bit of a time difference, not too much, a bit of a time difference, but also a difference in culture. It must be very clear up front what the capabilities are of the different teams. I knew that the people we have with the staff I could add from my standard people, we were able to do something fantastic with the digital assistant, knowing from previous years. So I told them, let's take up that part, not only delivering the digital assistant, but also delivering the functionality to plug it into the application that the people over there in Cape Town are building themselves. So we needed not only to build the digital assistant, the flows and the integrations with the database and the APIs and stuff like that, but also incorporate that into Oracle Jet web component, so that people at Steltix, people at the Cape Town could easily take the web component and plug it into the application itself. So that's very important. Also clear integration of the different parts, because if you start on the project, we saw that also, if it's not clear who is doing what, some people are doing the same thing, and then you lose some code. More importantly, you lose precious time to build a real solution for them. So the physical setup, it's quite different everywhere else. So we took our own offices to do that. Christian, they took out in the school there. So it's quite different. And then we need to see that we have the room, we have necessary screens and necessary connections, network connections and stuff like that in place. So that's always a bit of a fuss. So make sure that you get these physical setups right up front of the event itself. Like I told you, we had some time differences, but I really love the agenda. That was a fantastic idea of Christian, where we had, we do something, and after now we have this conf call, we present what we did, we said what we changed, and then we continue with the next phase of the building part. This allowed us to build a small part of the digital assistant, wrap it up in the web component, and allow them in the second, I think it was a second sprint already, people from Steltix to integrate that solution into the Oracle Jet application that they were trying to build. So having this kind of phased approach, even if it was for 1.5 days, it's a fantastic idea. It keeps people on their toes and make sure that you get new solutions, new features in there every sprint you do. So fantastic part there. Next slide, please. Can I click on the slide? Yes. Oh, can do. So the big day itself, it was a team. So we have the 2 students on the right, so Raymond, Maxim, and then we have 3 people from my own development team, all juniors, except for Wim, the last in the back, who is a really senior person in JavaScript development, Oracle Jet, and also the chatbots. So he knows all the products we needed to know we're going to use during that day. So we have enough knowledge over there to make things happen over there. So that's fantastic. Clear agenda, time points. We had some problem with the time points, what time we started on, depending on when everybody was ready. As you can see, we were a small team, so that was easy to manage. But the people at Steltix, they were a much larger group, so it's much more difficult to get them the time punch ready. Can-do mentality, of course. The only thing that matters is that you can build something that works, that you can show, and that makes a difference to what they used to do before. We had multiple days. So we had a day and a half. We started on Friday noon, and we went on to Friday evening, and then started on Saturday morning, where we had this fantastic lunch, and then started on the entire Saturday itself. It's, for me, I think it's a bit short. I would have done a hackathon with 2 full days. That would be fantastic. Of course, that depends on your audience, depends on the people who can have time off to do that hackathon. It was a nice thing during the weekend because we didn't have to get people from projects and disturb customers in their rollouts of their projects, but we were able to get this knowledge all together to allow our interns, our students to learn and to have an experience of this full project approach with different sprints, with meetups, with stand-ups and stuff like that. So it was a fantastic experience for them, and they're very happy to participate in that. Manage deadlines, very importantly also, of course, because we can build all kinds of things, and you can really jump into the little things and make everything pixel perfect, but that's not the purpose of this hackathon. The purpose was to build, to give some functionality, to give some features. So whether or not it's pixel perfect, that wasn't too much of a headache. So managing deadlines, saying, okay, in this sprint we're going to build that, and it should be finished in that sprint. Next sprint we build something else, so that people over there can see the things moving, changing, and being able to adapt to it and see the new things over there. The nice thing is, like Christian also said, is that when we build something, the next sprint, people at Steltix at Cape Town, they use that and they integrated that with their application. So each time we added some features, we show them the feature, we explain them how to use the feature and how to integrate that into their Oracle Jet application. Let's now see what we actually ended up after this day and a half. Oh yeah, here we have another, the same picture, but yeah, inverse. So here you see us looking at people at Cape Town, looking at the school, what they are doing there, while they were explaining what the purpose was and what they're building on. So it was a great way of communicating. We also saw the difficulties of that, of course, because you have to stop developing, you have to cut your sprint off, and then go back, have these small discussions, and continue over again. So it's a bit of a discipline, but it went very well. This was the chatbot at the end of the hackathon. You will see a next demo with what they did up till now today. The chatbot is somewhat unchanged. You see there are some, and there's a bit of Dutch and English between each other, so don't worry about that. So here we're able to look on a book on a certain author. And then you see the different ways of presenting information. These are all based on the APIs built by the people from Codex or Steltix. So that's great. You see the entire flow there. There is a nice flow behind it, a nice presentation. So I think it was a succeeded chatbot, and this was really encapsulated into an Oracle Jet web component. So the chatbot itself could be used out of the box directly within the Oracle Jet application itself. Yeah, and this is actually the result. So the two students kept on working on the result the people did from Steltix and the school and the chatbot itself. Now the idea is to integrate this into a bigger application where the security is done by this bigger application, and we just are a small part of that application. So the login itself probably will disappear, but everything else will stay. So here we have a fine list of all the books that are present. Now, I don't know the order in which you have proposed, but the idea is that you would look up the books you want based on the title, the author, a category, a small description or whatever. Then we just launch the different APIs provided by the Steltix people and Codex people, giving us the different information on the books available based on that parameters. You can select a book and it gives you a small list of all the books you have selected. So you see what books you want to loan. Let's take another author here, for example, Hemingway. So you can add multiple books to your list. The idea would be that you can do this upfront, and you're sure that when you reserve the list, when you go to the library, when you go to the school, these books are available for you, and you don't spend half a day writing to the school with the disappointment not having all the books you need. Then you see a nice list of the books you reserved and all the books you already have. So the idea would also be to be able to send the book back and use this functionality like this add book to just give in the ISBN number and add a new book to the library. Use the same capability for mobile devices to scan books and allowing the books to come into the library over again. So here we just show that a new book has been added to the list that you can search on it. Also the chatbot, like you see here, it's exactly the same chatbot, but now incorporated into the application itself. And you see the same mistakes. So that's to make sure we have the same chatbot. Now this brings up a lot of capabilities like integrating the Oracle Jet with the chatbot. So once you find a book, you can should be able to click on the book, and then the book pops up in the Oracle Jet application where you can then actually loan the book itself. Here is a small example of integrating external websites into your chatbot so people can have more detailed information about the book before they loan it. So that's where we are today. Oh, there are my slides. These are what they did up till now. They worked on it only 2 days a week, and only the month of June they worked on it full time, with all the other responsibilities they have from school, of course. So I think it's a great work what people did at the hackathon, and then what the interns, our students, were able to continue and make a real project out of it. So I think the combination of organizing this hackathon to get people engaged and to get people learning new technologies, and also combining that with a real solution you want to build and provide to your customer or a client that they can use in real life, is a real head-on for that. So my students were very happy. My team also. I've got all this positive feedback. So I think for the coming years, if there's still hackathons we can help with, we're more than happy to. Back to you, Christian.
Sure, thanks, Filip. And yeah, it was just a pleasure working with you guys and your team. As you said, in the planning stages, just leading up to it, it was so valuable to just, share your experiences and your insights. And then it was a pleasure, in spite of the technical challenges, to have that collaboration happening across the time zones. There's one more on a technical insight that I'll mention too, around that API layer and the back end. I just mentioned briefly earlier that it's hosted on the Oracle Cloud. And this was sort of another insight that we took. We approached the back end of this app technically similar to how we've approached other back ends, having containers running the API layers. But this is the first time that we deployed them in an Oracle Cloud environment in this way. And we learned quite a lot. We have a whole DevOps team that has deployed similar solutions in other either on-premise environments on the customers or some other cloud solution other than the Oracle Cloud. And the feedback was that the terminology of the Oracle Cloud technology was slightly different than the other providers. But once it was all set up, it was much more stable. And apparently the same specs that we're running for this back end in another cloud provider wasn't performing as well for some of the API checks that the DevOps guys were doing. So that speaks well of just the Oracle infrastructure in that cloud space. But they just did mention one of the insights was that the language and the terminology for the Oracle Cloud was a little bit unique to Oracle, and that they almost felt like they had to learn a bit of how Oracle was approaching the cloud terminology before they could fully dig in. But once they got over that hurdle, then they were very happy. And so we're going to continue to explore that as a hosting solution for us, for other applications and other customers. And so we took that away from it. So we went there to try to show the school what can be done with Oracle Tech. And we learned more about what can be done as well from a Steltix point of view. Yeah, and as Filip said, this is ongoing. So the school was very, very pleased. The students that participated were very, very pleased at what they learned. And so the school is now trying to leverage this into a real momentum to implement even more software. They're starting to talk to us about their needs because, as in many places in the world with the pandemic going on, the school has had a lot of challenges to how now they leverage technology in a different way. They were thinking about a books library and physical attendance, and now they're thinking about, okay, well, how do we have classes if the people don't actually come to the class? So this has opened up the relationship. And yeah, as Filip said, we might have more hackathons in the future and more ways we can figure out how we as a software development house can assist them in going on this journey. And then, because it's important to us that the school doesn't just get a thin, fragile solution. They get the right real tech, just like any company, that embraces this Oracle stack. So that's really our motivation, and we're feeling like it's successful. And Filip's team is continuing to deliver this one module. But yeah, it seemed to grow beyond there. And yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to say into that, Fritz?
No, I just want to say it's exciting for us bringing technology and education together, and to see how we can actually assist with the education challenges we have here in South Africa by applying technology. And I was amazed to see how much we could have actually do in such a short period of time, and also collaborating with teams in Europe. And that was quite exciting to see how we could have actually achieved these software applications, and also what we've learned through that, which was really great.
Yeah, and also just, I didn't say it enough at the beginning, but Phil Wilkins, the other co-host here on the event, his team at Cape Gemini was also instrumental in that planning stage and being there and helping us, especially on the API side, kind of guiding some of our Steltix guys in some of the tools, apiary and others, to help us get that layer set up. So thank you, Phil, for your team and your involvement in there as well. I think that's our presentation part, but we are open if there's anybody who has any questions or any comments who want to take it further or discuss anything else about, you know, education and hackathons and how to have a successful one.
So thank you, Christian and Philip. That was really interesting. It was really enjoyable to hear the success that you've had with it and the ongoing journey. So if people want to share questions, then please use the Q&A box and we'll get them read out.
Okay.
In the meantime, whilst people are hopefully keying in questions, perhaps I could kick the ball off and ask you both, is there anything you do differently having done this?
Yeah, I'll start because this being our second hackathon, we did do better in some things the second time. But yeah, one of the things major I would do differently is to just do it longer. I realized that Philip's team worked on it half day and then a whole day with us, and we only did the event for that whole day. And I think that although we were able to achieve quite a lot, it went by in a blur. It went by a little bit too fast. I think if we'd have just added another day and taken the whole weekend, then the experience would have also been successful, but we would have had a little bit more breathing room. It wouldn't have felt like a sprint. And yeah, that's one of my major takeaways, is just taking more time to do it. Yeah, maybe having a second backup internet solution, because we did struggle with some of our internet connection and technology, and we did try it out ahead of time, but just that would be another thing. You can't have enough backup internet connections. And then Philip, did you have any insights on your side on that?
Yeah, I mentioned it before, actually to have indeed at least 2 days, and not because it's the length of 2 days, but the fact that you start a hackathon, people get ideas, right? And then you discuss and you build some basic ideas, you build some basic features. And then you come to the end of the first day and people go home and they get all these thoughts and they join in the next day, and then you see a totally different team coming together, like they work together for months, but it's only the second day, and the night between makes so much difference due to the fact that they were able to give it all a place and to get some new fresh ideas that will work within the setting you're working at that time. So the effect of have multiple days is really a key, I think, to get a very fantastic enthusiastic day, second day at the end of the hackathon. So yeah, at least two days, I would say.
Yep.
Smashing. We got a question come through. It's more about the security side of things, I think. Could you elaborate on how you might protect, or you're protecting the customer information on the Oracle Cloud?
Sure. So yeah, on the API layer, we're using a JSON Web Token solution. As Philip mentioned, the application that you saw here, this books library, is a module within what's now turning into a larger application. So when we first went to the school, we didn't go, and the hackathon wasn't necessarily to just build a books library. It was always to build a larger application that had modules, a books library being one, attendance being another. And that application is basically where we're bringing in some of the patterns that we've established in Steltix around our web application security. So the back end is essentially realized as a node application, and then that's using JSON Web Security. And we're actually also leveraging the authentication tokens from Office 365 Microsoft Azure Active Directory, because Crystal House is an Active Directory domain holder. So basically, that's how we're authenticating their specific users. And then that JSON web token is then passed around the back end to make sure that the person in the front end who's logged in is actually what's interacting with the services.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the digital assistant is it's actually a backend service. So it has a nice front end which will be integrated into the Oracle Jet, the one that you guys have seen now. But the backend itself is integrated within the backend of the Oracle Cloud. So because they're in the same tenant, you actually can look up and ask the different APIs some information without a security breach, because they're all working into the same logical network. You don't have to open up to the internet all your APIs. So that's a nice part.
Yes, yeah.
By using a thing called a chatbot or a digital assistant.
Thank you. And I think last question at the moment is, when are you planning to do the next one? Are you planning at the next one yet?
Yeah, well, we don't have a date yet, but I'd like to say we're very willing.
Yeah, I mean, we would love to get some ideas. Obviously, putting an event like this together takes quite a lot of effort and time and planning. So I think that it's also very much around sponsorships, I think, and we obviously working with the school here. They rely quite a lot on sponsorships and funding. So to put together a event like this takes quite a lot of effort and time. So if anyone has got some desire to fund or sponsor, we're very much open to listen.
Sure.
Oh, we have another question. Is there a voice channel in regard to the digital assistant? Any plans to develop in this area?
At the point we did the hackathon, there you were able to add one, but I think it's a standard functionality right now. So if you build new chatbots, if you build new digital assistants, you have this voice assistant immediately built in. So some great new features, and that's also a great thing about the Oracle Cloud. It's constantly evolving, and the chatbot we built, the digital assistant we built back then, is quite different from the one with all the capabilities there is right now. So, but that function we didn't implement it. That could be a nice exchange. So because of the different languages, because of the different use of the same English language, that could be very interesting to see how the chatbot would react at.
That sounds like a fascinating challenge. We don't have any more questions, so I think at this point we're coming up towards the hour. So I'd like to thank you both for taking the time and sharing your experience with us. If anybody has any further questions, then feel free to reach out to Jürgen or myself, and we'll get the questions passed on and shared somehow. Otherwise,
yeah, I'll also say Phil. I'll also just say that if anybody is interested in reaching out, maybe if we do another event like this, and maybe there's members of this community that would like to take a part, they can also reach out and just email you on that, and we'll see how we can maybe pull the whole community together again.
that would be fantastic. Definitely. Cool. In which case, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thanks, Phil and Jürgen.
Yeah, Jürgen Kress, thank you very much, and congratulations for the wonderful application to help the library. Special thanks to Steltix, Capgemini, and Contribute. You did an awesome job, and thanks for organizing such a hackathon for school students in South Africa. Thank you, everybody, for attending today's webcast. The next presentation will be on Wednesday, and the topic will be Cloud Native App Development on OCI with serverless functions and API Gateway. If you'd like to attend, please Google our Meetup groups or look in the chat. I just posted a link. Phil, thanks for hosting today's webcast.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.